Hi there, it's MA, and I thought I'd record a little morning book chat. So I think over a year ago, I posted a stack of books and said, I'm going to do book reviews, and I think I did one and I never did the rest. So I've been weeding through my book cabinets. I think I've confessed before, for a while, I've been a little bit of a sucker for the Llewellyn book sales and just generally picking up witchy and tarot titles, and I'm starting to cull the pile a little. So as I kind of pick up books again and decide if I'm going to keep them or in some cases read them, I thought I'd share like little mini reviews, because the book I'm gonna review today, I looked on Amazon, and you can see the table of contents now, but in general, I find that the amount of the book that is previewed is not enough to make a decision. And I think for most of us, these are the kind of books that never end up in our libraries. And I know that near me, if there are any witchcraft related titles in the library system, they tend to be stolen. I think kids that don't feel comfortable checking them out with their card sometimes take them because they feel that's the only way to get access to the information. So I think it's hard to get a hold of the books, and then it's hard to decide whether to spend your money on them because you don't really know what the content is. So that's why I'm doing this, just to help people make better decisions. And I will always be kind of judgmental. I will explain my personal biases when I'm aware of them, because things that I don't enjoy, I think other people might enjoy, and things that I enjoy, some people might not be into. So this book today is The Tarot Apothecary by Ailynn Halverson. It came out maybe a little bit less than a year ago. I had pre-ordered this. I don't remember why. I think it just generally appeared to me and I had a coupon. To be honest, sometimes that's my thought process. So this is one, I'm going to be honest, when I first read it, I was a little bit disappointed. And then as time passed, I find myself referring to it. So I am going to be keeping this book. I think as a read, it may not be the most exciting in sections, and there were things about it that didn't appeal to me, but overall, it's one that I'm actually going to keep. So I'm going to say one general thing about Llewellyn books, and especially Llewellyn books that are any type of formulary. I have a major criticism that has nothing to do with the author, but I find that frequently some of their books would have been well served and made more usable by having an index, and this is another book that does not have an index. So you kind of have to flag things because it is essential oil related. Like if you see that a certain oil is used on page 25 and then you forget, where did I see orange oil, you're going to have to flip through the book again. So get your sticky tabs out if that's something that's important to you, or you may have to write your own kind of compendium index of what oils are on which page, if that's something you like to reverse engineer. So let's just look at what the chapters are and what the sections are vaguely like. So there's an introduction. I always read introduction, tells you what the theory behind this whole thing is. But let's get right into the first chunky chapter, is the tarot archetypes, and starting with the queens. So there's kind of an in-depth look for the 4 queens and the majors, and especially the queens, that talk through, sorry, I'm flipping the pages, the archetype of the queen, each of the queens, has some formulated blends for the queens, has some suggested rituals for each queen, a bath, some cooking things, and what I thought that the analysis and the suggestions with the 4 queens was solid gold. I could have had a whole book like that, and I think maybe that's why as then I started to read the book, I was kind of at first a little let down. But I think what it really is meant to do maybe is for you to take that approach and apply it yourself to whatever cards you're working with. And I think that that is what this book is ultimately helping me with more than it helps me in the initial read. And one thing that in the Queens, it goes into, which I'm never a fan of, so it's not personal to this author, is for the 4 Queens, there is kind of these like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 page things about my journey with the Queen. And I'm not even going to read it for the book. I'm just going to generalize and stereotype. Again, nothing against this person, but it's this kind of thing is, I went for a walk on a summer afternoon and I envisioned this, and then the Queen came to me, and then I heard the Queen say this to me. I am never into that. And these kind of books, I tend to glaze over and skip it. That's a personal bias on my part. I probably read maybe the first one. You know, that's something I find very personal, and I don't always enjoy reading someone else's experience because it feels a little invasive and I get a little cringy. Again, personal bias on my part. So I tend to skip that part over. And then when it got to the majors, it didn't really do that beyond the 4 Queens. It did kind of condense a message from each of the major cards, which maybe the author considered another one of these received journey messages. But I would encourage anyone who's interested in that aspect of working with a card to, you know, formulate their own message. Okay, so that was like, that constitutes the first 150 pages of the book. When you get to the majors, it gives you, you know, it does go into card meanings and a little bit of, you know, personal, I don't know what to call it, personal reflection on the card, which is fine. Each of the majors has an essential oil assigned by this author. For example, I'm looking at the Lover's card, and it says the element is air, the essential oil is lavender, the planetary influence is Mercury, and the scent description, lavender is popular and has been for centuries. Lavender is light and airy with a sharpness, flowery yet not overly sweet. A deep breath of lavender is clearing in thought and opens the air passages as well as the third eye. So for each major arcana card, there's going to be an essential oil association made by this author. Now, you could change them, you could do your own. But it's kind of building that association. Then we get into a chapter called The Power of Numerology, which, you know, if you have a lot of other books, maybe a little repetitive because it goes into calculating the birth card and some self-discovery questions about the energies of that card and some other things, and blending it all for your, I think that it does move into blending an oil for your birth card. So, you know, that's cool. But initially I thought, well, that's a little bit repetitive. But again, as I reflect on keeping this book in the collection, these are now things that are all condensed under this one roof to be put to use in a particular way. Then we get to a good chunky chapter about, or 4 sections about the elemental energies going with the archetypes. So that's another like 40 pages of associating essential oils with different elements and associating the cards with different elements. So that's interesting. And then there's like some nice sections about how to make the blends. And this book is not a formulary. In the section about the 4 Queens, there were some recipes, but the rest of this is not recipes. And I think that's where this book is very different from a bunch of the other aromatherapy and essential oil formulary books. This book is not a formulary. This book is teaching you how to do your own formulations, and pulling it all together is section 2. Now, we don't get into this until page 217, and you'll get like 30 or 20, 25 to 30 pages on this subject about the carrier oils, blending things by element, blending them by what note each oil carries, blending them by scent families. And, you know, I found this is starting to be very useful to me as I'm crafting my own stuff. So, yeah, that's useful. And then there's a section about adding crystals and gemstones. I don't know that it really goes into, it goes into a little bit of some stones associated with each of the 4 elements, but it's not in depth. So, you know, you're free to make your own. Then there's a section about applying mantras to the blends, and another short section on making rituals. And then you do get an appendix where for each oil it will advise the element, the plant part, what blending note it is, like base, middle, or top note, what scent group it is, the plant family, how it's distracted, and precautions. And this is another thing that's very important to me. This book is advocating very responsible use of essential oils. Essential oils can be dangerous. They can be dangerous around pets. They can be dangerous to have in the house without childproof containers. If you don't mix and dilute them properly, they can burn your skin. If you ever hear someone, you know, trying to sell you oils and telling you to put some on your tongue, like run like the wind, you know, that's not really safe usage. So, you know, there is some responsibility here with things like don't put this one in your bath water. It can irritate your skin, and things that you shouldn't use if you're pregnant. So yeah, overall, I'm going to say not the greatest read, right? It's not like the first chapter, the stuff about the queens, I was really into, other than like the personal, you know, journey parts. I was really interested. Then as a book to read, I kind of lagged a little bit, but now I find myself pulling this off the shelf to kind of work through some things that I've been making. So that's what this book is all about. If it's something that appeals to you, if it's something you're going to pass on, if you already have aromatherapy books, if you already have a book that talks about the card of the year, if you already, you know, have made your own associations or are not interested in associations, this might not be for you. You may find it a duplication. I do have a bunch of those other books, but my brain is a little scattered lately, and I'm finding value in having it all together. And I think some of the information I have about the blending and the oils is in more non-magical focused books. So yeah, I decided ultimately that I'm going to keep this one, and that's what this book is all about. Okay. All right. I hope that was mildly helpful. Take care. Bye.